Hey there, John here from the Blues Guitar Institute, and this is your Tuesday Blues lesson number 170. In this lesson, we're going to cover some basic level strumming, but we're going to do it in a super classy way, and you're going to pick up one of the most iconic progressions in the blues along the way. Before we get started, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and show your support for these free lessons that come out every single Tuesday as part of Tuesday Blues, where we take cool acoustic blues concepts, we break things down to the fundamentals, and we build them back up into something completely cool. All right, let's get started on today's piece. Now, what you just heard may not grab your ear and say blues instantly. It's got more of a country sort of swinging strum to it. But I can assure you this is coming from the blues. This progression and that sort of strumming swing that we've got going on here is really modeled after the classic and legendary tune, really Sitting on Top of the World by the Mississippi Sheiks. This has been done by countless different groups, just over the years. You can check out Cream's version of it. You can check out Howlin' Wolf's version of it. It's one of those staple blues tunes. So you really should get familiar with how these chords fit together. And what we're going to do today is, that's going to be more of a bonus of this lesson, is really getting through the chord progression modeled after the chord progression of that particular song. It's not that exactly, but it is going to get you close to it. But what we really want to focus on today is strumming in a controlled way. You're going to find yourself from time to time hanging out, sitting in a jam circle with some friends with a flat pick in your hand, and you need to know what to do, and you don't want to be strumming loudly and out of control. You know, there's definitely a time to just fram and wail on the guitar, but for the most part, you need to serve the song, and that can mean just a nice, light strum. I'm getting the sounds out of this chord. And you can certainly vary your volume, but you want to make sure that you're strumming in a controlled way. That's what we're going to work on today. So we're going to start working through this by fretting up a G chord. And I say this a lot, almost every chance I get, but I highly recommend fretting your G chord this way versus this way. If you're getting into acoustic blues, this way of fretting your G will come in handy in a ton of different situations. But we're going to play a G chord here, and we're going to really pluck the bass on this first downbeat on the 6th string. And then this is where the little strum comes. We're going to do a very quick on the 8th notes. We're going to go 1, 2, and so down, up, across strings 4, 3, and 2. So those are the only strings that we really want to touch here. We're not going to hit everything. That's what we're aiming for. So we kind of choke down on that bass by having a little bit of a palm mute applied. And then you go down, up on just those 3 strings, 4, 3, and 2. Then we're going to move through the rest of the measure by coming back and playing our bass. So it's kind of a bass, down, up pattern that's going to repeat throughout most of these 8 bars. Then we're going to move the bass on this next little passage to the B note on the 5th string. This is, again, under our G chord. Then we're going to do that same bass, down, up. Then we go back to the 6th string, bass, down, up. And then here, we're going to put the middle finger, if you're fingering it this way, down on the A note here. Sorry, the E note. That's the 6th of the chord. So this is going to sound kind of bluesy. By working that little note in there. The part that we're going to do is just put down on the E note and then that's going to be our bass, and then we're still going to do our down up. And that again is on the 4th string. So bass, and then strum through those strings. So we've got. And then we're ready to change chords. But before we do that, let's make sure that we've got things nice and easy, but in time. And we're not hitting the guitar super hard. We're not whamming on it. We're really getting some nice laid back sounds coming out just by easily strumming through. I'm doing more in the wrist here than I am with my whole arm. This is different than just strumming through. Which you can, of course, do, and it has its application, but we really want to make sure that we can control things. So the exercise here and the skill builder here is when you're going to do the down up on these 3 strings only. That's going to take some aim and coordination on your picking hand to really get in there and hit just those 3 strings. But that happens throughout this piece, so you're really going to get a lot of practice at that. And when we move into this next chord, that's going to be our C7. So we got a C major chord here. We can make that a C7 by playing that B flat on the 3rd string, 3rd fret. And we're going to do a very similar approach to this measure, where we're going to do bass and down up, just under the chord now. So it's not these 3 open strings, it's under the chord. And our bass is starting on the 5th fret. And this gets kind of fun because we're going to do the 5th string bass. I said 5th fret, not 5th fret, the 3rd fret, but the 5th string. So there's our bass, down, up. Then we're going to move the bass onto the G. So that's happening on the 6th string. This happens a lot in acoustic blues, where you kind of alternate your bass, and we're going to move and catch this G note, which is lower, and it sounds kind of cool. Then we're just going to go back and forth. So the C, G, and then the C, G. That's really what happens for these 2 measures. You just alternate the bass, and you're keeping that down up happening under the C7 chord on strings 4, 3, and 2. And here in the progression, so far we've had 2 bars of G, 2 bars of C7. Now we're going to go back and do a bar of G. Just like that, we've already covered that piece. So the bass, down, up, bass on the 5th string, that's the 3rd of the G chord, this B note. And then we're going to jump up into the D7 and do a very similar, really the exact same strumming pattern that we did under the C7. So bass, down, up, bass, down, up. And we're doing everything that we did here. We just moved everything up a whole step into D. So we're at this D7 chord. And after you do that second little bass, down, up, we're going to move back to our G. All right, so let's pause there before we round out this progression. We've started out on G. C7, we're back to G now, then our D7, and here's our D, our G. And so here at this bar is where we kind of enter in the turnaround. This is an 8-bar piece, so the turnaround we're going to... And that last little bit is the only time we break our little bass down up pattern. But to take you a little closer through the turnaround, we start on the G. So we do G, G, down, up, and then C7, bass, down, up, just like we did before. Then back to our G, down, up, and then here, now we're at the very final part of this progression. You're going to get down on this D7. We're not going to do anything with the bass. We're just going to strum down, up, down, up. The only trick is on that last up, you're actually going to play more of a ghost note through the open strings, headed back to the top of the progression. So let's play through this on the slow side, and then we'll play through things up to tempo. Here we go. And now up to tempo. All right, I hope you enjoy this trip back to basics. Now, there is, of course, more basic strumming that you can do than this. So this is a notch up from that. Your most basic strumming would be just being able to strum through all 6 strings. But once you're past that, it's really time to work on controlling your strumming. And what we did today along those lines is we got really into the chord and we started targeting strings, really notes from the chords. So it's string 4, 3, and 2. For the most part. So this is a real skill builder for you, and it's a way to really help you clean up your strumming, even if you've been playing for a while. I know personally, I'd been playing for a long time before I thought about cleaning up my strumming and really making sure that I was hitting the notes that I wanted to, rather than just digging in there and hitting everything full speed ahead. So this lesson hopefully should coach you through to play and strum with a little more finesse. Before we sign off, I want to tell you about a cool 3 free lesson pack that I've got for you from BGI, the Acoustic Blues Jumpstart. If you're looking for a great way to build some fundamental skills in the blues, then I highly recommend checking out the Acoustic Blues Jumpstart, which you can do by registering for the 3-part free course at bluesguitarinstitute.com/start now. All you have to do is register, and then you'll be guided through how to start the course and really get some cool fundamental skills into your playing. All right, that's it for today. Be sure to check us next Tuesday when we've got more cool acoustic blues lessons coming. Until then, be sure to practice smart and play on.